A little note about ChatGPT, Google Translate, and other apps that you might use. I think, first of all, they are absolutely great, and I highly, highly recommend that you use them, but they're not the end all be all. I can't tell you how many stories I've heard of people saying that they were on Duolingo for a year, 2 years, and at the end of it, even though they could play the games and get the points, they didn't feel like they could speak, not at least in a real life situation. ChatGPT is super great. It is going to give you B minus C plus material. This is across the board. This isn't just when it comes to languages. I expect that to improve in probably a short period of time. I think Meta or Google is coming out with these glasses where somebody speaks in a different language to you and then you see the translation appear somewhere in your glasses. That's really neat. It doesn't necessarily teach you how to speak back, but at least you can understand what somebody's saying. Google Translate is super cool. It used to really, really suck. It's much better now than it used to be. And we've traveled, me and my husband, we traveled. I remember going to France and we saw this older couple at a very fancy restaurant and they had their cell phone and they were using Google Translate and they pointed out, and that's definitely better than nothing. It absolutely is. And if you needed to say something complicated, or let's say, God forbid, you had to go to a hospital or something like that, that will absolutely help you. But in a pinch, very quickly, it's nice to have the, say, fluidez, the fluency, to be able just to rattle off the thing that you're wanting. I'll give you an example, but this happened in France. My husband and I, we were at the metro, and there was a woman who needed to get her carriage up the stairs from the metro because they didn't have elevators. She couldn't get her baby up the stairs. And so Michael just grabbed the other end of the carriage, and then the two of them just got the carriage up to the top of the stairs. And it was great. And then she said, merci, which means thank you, in case you didn't know. And Michael knows the term for you're welcome. He knows it. But because he was out of practice, he wasn't practicing it at home or anything like that, it didn't come out and he just kind of stared back at her. It's interesting because that could be seen as very rude. Now, obviously, he wasn't being rude, he was helping her with her baby, but it can be seen as very rude in a bunch of different circumstances. And he hated it. He felt super awkward about it. So with this, at least you get to practice. Travelingo is also a very safe space for you to communicate with others who are in the same boat as you are. And sometimes people who speak English as a first language, and especially if you're in the US and we aren't really brought up to speak another language. We might have a mandatory couple of years in high school, but we lose that very, very quickly. Whereas in other countries, you sort of are brought up speaking more than one language at the same time. That's not the way it is here. And so you might feel a little bit sensitive about that, or maybe a little bit embarrassed and not want to take a Spanish speaking class by somebody who speaks Spanish natively because you might be afraid to ask your questions. You also could be thinking that maybe if you ask a complicated question in English that the person who's teaching it won't understand you. I certainly will, and I'll do my best to answer your questions and to paraphrase whatever it is that your concern is. So the best way to get value out of this community and out of these courses is, yes, to watch the videos and to practice and all of that on your own. That's important. But also come to the group chats, practice, come to the práctica. Don't feel nervous about trying to speak Spanish and fumbling and screwing up and stumbling all over yourself. Don't worry about it. I'm an attorney and I'm a professor. And what I tell my students is dare to be wrong. Dare to be wrong. It's better for you to be wrong in class when it doesn't count, I tell my students, than on the exam when it does count. And for you, the equivalent of the exam is when you are in real life in another country or in the middle of traveling. So, for example, you want to know the difference between saying, oh, I'm hot versus, ah, I'm horny. And then those two are, I mean, they are almost the exact same phrase. So it's better for you to practice in a safe space and make those mistakes now. Don't be embarrassed, be proud, dare to be wrong. And so that you learn more quickly, sometimes I tell my more advanced students, you will suck for a shorter period of time if you practice, get stuff wrong, because that's how you learn the most. And that's how you learn the most quickly is by getting stuff wrong. Practice, 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 and do it live. I'll also try to get some guest speakers on for some of these things. I'll try to get some native Spanish speakers on for these things. So, I mean, I can speak and I can speak fairly quickly, but if you get a real live native Spanish speaker in front of you and they're able to speak a lot more quickly than I'm able to speak, you'll see that the issue isn't that you understand every single solitary word that's being said to you. The important thing is that you grasp, generally speaking, what is being said to you, and you can get very far. With that said, I hope to see you at the next group práctica.